Close your eyes. Let the day become distant. Imagine that the sounds around you are slowly fading, one by one, until all that remains is the gentle rhythm of your breathing. There is no need to hurry. There is nowhere you need to be. Tonight, we travel far beyond the noise of the modern world. We travel backward through thousands of years, across deserts of golden sand, beneath skies filled with ancient stars, toward a land where the river was believed to be a gift from the gods. A land known today as Egypt. Imagine the evening there. The sun has disappeared beyond the western horizon. The last light rests upon the Nile like a ribbon of copper. Palm trees stand quietly along the riverbanks. The desert stretches endlessly beyond them. And above the distant temples, the first stars begin to appear, one by one, then dozens, then hundreds. The ancient Egyptians looked upward at these same stars. They watched them move slowly across the heavens. They believed that the sky was not empty. It was alive. The stars were part of a great celestial kingdom. And somewhere beyond the visible world, the gods traveled through their eternal domains. The Nile flows quietly beside you. You are standing on a small wooden boat. There is no wind. The water barely moves. A warm night breeze touches your face. Far ahead, you can see the silhouettes of temples rising from the darkness. Their columns seem enormous beneath the moon. Torches burn near their entrances. Their reflections tremble upon the river. The boat continues forward, slowly, peacefully. There is nothing to fear. The ancient Egyptians believed that night was not an ending. Night was a journey. Every evening, the sun god Ra disappeared into the western horizon. And while the world slept, Ra began a mysterious voyage through the underworld. Before morning, he would return, and the sun would rise again. Tonight, we will follow that journey. Not as travelers who must solve mysteries. Not as heroes who must fight monsters. But simply as quiet observers. We will drift through ancient Egypt. We will listen to stories that have survived thousands of years. Stories of gods and goddesses, kings and queens, rivers and stars, death and rebirth. And perhaps, as the story continues, the rhythm of the Nile will become the rhythm of your breathing. Slow, gentle, endless. The boat moves farther into the night. The temples disappear behind you. The desert becomes darker. And above you, the stars shine like countless distant lamps. The ancient Egyptians believed that the universe moved according to a sacred order. They called this order Ma'at. Ma'at represented truth, balance, harmony, justice, the rising of the sun, the flowing of the Nile, the changing of the seasons, the movement of the stars. Everything had its place. Everything followed a rhythm. And tonight, you can simply rest within that rhythm. The boat continues down the Nile. The water whispers against the wooden sides. The desert sleeps. The palm trees are still. And the stars remain above. Slowly, quietly, the ancient world opens before you. Long before the pyramids stood beneath the sun, before the temples of Karnak and Luxor were built, before the first pharaohs ruled along the Nile, the ancient Egyptians imagined a world covered in darkness and endless water. They called these primordial waters none. There was no land, no cities, no temples, no people, only the silent waters. And then, from those waters, the first land appeared, a small mound rising above the surface, the first place where creation could begin. Upon this first land appeared the Creator God. Different traditions told the story in different ways. Some said the Creator was Adam. Others spoke of Thoth. Others described the rising of the sun itself as the beginning of creation. But in every telling, the idea was similar. Order emerged from chaos. Light emerged from darkness. The world began. Adam looked upon the emptiness, and from him came the first divine beings. Shu, the god of air, and Tefnut, the goddess of moisture. From them came Geb, the earth, and Nut, the sky. Imagine Nut stretching across the heavens. Her body forms the great blue vault above the world. Her feet touch the eastern horizon. Her hands rest upon the western horizon. Every evening, the sun enters her mouth. Every morning, she gives birth to it again. The ancient Egyptians saw the sunrise and sunset as part of a divine cycle. Death, rebirth, death, rebirth. Nothing truly disappeared. It simply changed. And perhaps that idea brought comfort to those who lived beside the unpredictable Nile. The river itself seemed to follow the same rhythm. Each year it rose. Each year it flooded the land. And when the waters withdrew, dark, fertile soil remained behind. From that soil came grain. From grain came bread. From bread came life. The Nile was more than a river. It was the heartbeat of Egypt. You can imagine standing beside it now. The water is cool. The moon is reflected upon the surface. Small insects move quietly through the reeds. Somewhere in the distance, an owl calls. You breathe slowly. The ancient world remains peaceful around you. The first gods have appeared. The heavens have been created. The earth has been formed. And the great story has begun. Before dawn, the ancient Egyptians waited for the sun. They knew that it would return. But they also knew that during the night it traveled through a hidden world. The sun god was often called Ra. Ra was one of the most important gods of ancient Egypt. He was the light of the world. He crossed the heavens during the day in his solar bark. And when evening arrived, he entered the western horizon. There, his night journey began. Imagine the solar boat. It is made of divine wood and gold. Ra sits within it. Around him travel protective gods. The boat descends into the mysterious realm beneath the earth, the Duat, the Egyptian underworld. But this was not simply a place of darkness. It was a world of rivers, gates, fields, caverns, stars, spirits, and divine beings. Ra traveled through 12 regions during the night. Each hour brought him deeper into the hidden realm. At the beginning of the journey, darkness surrounded the boat. The waters were still. The stars seemed close. Ra continued forward. The gods who accompanied him watched the darkness carefully, because somewhere in the underworld waited Apophis, the great serpent of chaos. Apophis was the opposite of Maat. Where Ra represented order and light, Apophis represented disorder and darkness. Every night, the serpent attempted to stop the solar boat. But every night, Ra continued. The battle was eternal, not a battle of swords and armies. It was a cosmic struggle between order and chaos. And every morning, when the sun appeared over the eastern horizon, the Egyptians knew that Ra had succeeded again. The world was safe for another day. Imagine watching that sunrise now. The horizon slowly becomes pale. Gold appears, then orange, then brilliant light. The desert awakens. The Nile catches the sunlight. Birds begin to sing. And Ra rises once again. You do not need to follow him. You can remain beside the river. You can simply watch the light. And breathe. Slowly. Peacefully. Among the most beloved gods of Egypt was Osiris. He was associated with kingship, fertility, vegetation, death, and resurrection. According to one of the most famous Egyptian myths, Osiris once ruled Egypt. He was a wise king. Under his rule, people learned agriculture and the ways of civilized life. His brother Set, however, became jealous. Set was associated with storms, deserts, disorder, and violence. The two brothers represented opposing forces. Osiris was connected with the fertile Nile Valley. Set was connected with the harsh desert beyond it. Eventually, Set devised a plan. He prepared a beautiful chest and invited Osiris to a gathering. During the feast, Set announced that the chest would belong to whoever fit perfectly inside it. One by one, the guests tried. Eventually, Osiris climbed inside. The chest fit him exactly. Set and his followers closed the lid. The chest was sealed, and Osiris was carried away. The story continued through many lands. But Isis, wife and sister of Osiris, refused to give up. She searched, across rivers, through villages, along distant shores, until she found what she was seeking. Isis was one of the most powerful goddesses in Egyptian mythology. She was associated with magic, motherhood, healing, protection, and devotion. Her love for Osiris became one of the great themes of Egyptian mythology. With the help of the god Anubis and other divine beings, Isis restored Osiris. But Osiris could not remain among the living forever. Instead, he became Lord of the Dead. He ruled the hidden kingdom. And so the Egyptians imagined death not as an empty ending, but as a passage into another existence. Osiris waited beyond the western horizon, and the dead would eventually enter his kingdom. There they would seek eternal peace. The Nile continues flowing. The moon moves slowly across the sky, and the story of Osiris becomes quieter. There is no need to fear the darkness. In the ancient Egyptian imagination, darkness was simply another doorway. Isis became one of the most widely worshipped goddesses of ancient Egypt. She was called by many names: Mother, Queen, Protector, Magician. She was often depicted wearing a throne-shaped crown. Sometimes she appeared with wings spread protectively around those beneath her. Her greatest strength was not physical power. It was persistence. She searched when others had stopped searching. She protected when others had abandoned hope. She used knowledge when knowledge seemed impossible. The ancient Egyptians believed that magic was part of the structure of the universe. Words could possess power. Names could possess power. Knowledge could possess power. And Isis was among the greatest masters of sacred knowledge. One story tells of how she sought the secret name of Ra. Ra was an ancient and powerful god. But even gods could become vulnerable. As Ra aged, Isis discovered a way to learn a hidden name connected with his divine power. She did not seek this knowledge merely for herself. She wanted to understand the mysteries of creation. The Egyptians believed that knowing the true name of something gave a person a special relationship with its nature. This idea of sacred names appears throughout Egyptian mythology. Names were not merely labels. They were part of identity, part of existence, part of the soul. As you rest tonight, imagine the temples where priests whispered sacred names beneath the stars. Imagine incense rising through shafts of moonlight. Imagine carved hieroglyphs covering enormous stone walls. Every symbol tells a story. Every name carries memory. Every temple is a doorway into the ancient imagination. And somewhere within that ancient world, Isis continues to stand. Quiet, patient, protective, her wings extended around the sleeping world. Now the journey takes us deeper into the Duat. Here we meet Anubis. Anubis is often shown with the body of a man and the head of a jackal. He was associated with burial, protection, embalming, and the passage of the dead. To modern eyes, the jackal might seem frightening. But to the ancient Egyptians, jackals were familiar creatures of the desert. They were seen near cemeteries. And because of this, Anubis became a guardian of the dead. Imagine a quiet chamber. Stone walls surround you. Small lamps burn along the edges. The air is still. At the center stands Anubis. He does not appear angry. He simply waits. Before him is a great balance. On one side is the heart of the deceased. On the other is the feather of Ma'at. The heart represents the person's life, their actions, their choices, their truth. The feather represents balance. If the heart is light, the soul may continue toward the peaceful afterlife. The Egyptians believed that the heart was closely connected with memory, thought, and character. It was not simply an organ. It was the record of a person's life. Nearby waits Thoth, the ibis-headed god of writing and knowledge. Thoth records the result, and beyond them is Osiris, the ruler of the afterlife. There is no need to imagine this scene as frightening. Instead, imagine it as quiet, a place where the noise of life has finally disappeared. No deadlines, no worries, no unfinished tasks, only stillness, only truth, only rest. The balance remains perfectly still. The feather does not move. The lamps burn quietly, and the soul waits. Thoth was the god of wisdom, writing, mathematics, language, and knowledge. He was often represented with the head of an ibis. The ancient Egyptians believed that writing was a sacred gift. Words allowed humans to preserve memory. Through writing, a person's name could survive. A king could die. A kingdom could disappear. But words carved into stone might remain for thousands of years. And they did. Today, we can still see the hieroglyphs. Birds, eyes, hands, reeds, sun disks, animals, geometric forms. Thousands of symbols telling stories from an ancient civilization. Imagine walking through an Egyptian temple at night. The torches are low. The walls are enormous. You place your hand gently against the cool stone. You can feel its age. 3,000 years. Perhaps more. The stars outside continue moving. Thoth watches over knowledge. He records the movements of the heavens. He knows the cycles of the moon. He understands the calendar. He writes the names of gods and kings. And he waits patiently, because knowledge has no need to hurry. The stars rise. The stars set. Generations pass. The Nile continues flowing. And the stories remain. Not every Egyptian god belonged to great temples or cosmic battles. Some were connected with ordinary life. Bastet was the goddess often represented as a cat or as a woman with the head of a cat. She was associated with protection, home, music, joy, and motherhood. Cats were deeply respected in ancient Egypt. They lived alongside people. They protected homes from rodents and snakes. They moved silently through courtyards. They slept beneath the warm Egyptian sun. Imagine a quiet house beside the Nile. A small lamp burns near the doorway. A cat rests upon a woven mat. Outside, the river moves slowly. The family has finished eating. The house is quiet. Someone has fallen asleep. Bastet watches over the doorway. No monsters come. No armies arrive. No storm disturbs the night. There is only peace. This is another side of Egyptian mythology. Not pyramids, not tombs, not kings, but home, warmth, family, music, cats sleeping beneath the moon. The ordinary moments that make life beautiful. And perhaps this is the perfect place to rest for a while. Let your breathing slow. Imagine the quiet house. Imagine the warm night. Imagine the river. Nothing needs to happen. The story can simply drift. Like the Nile. Far across the desert stands one of humanity's greatest monuments. The Great Pyramid of Giza. For the ancient Egyptians, pyramids were more than enormous structures. They were connected with kingship, the afterlife, the sun, and the journey of the soul. Imagine approaching the pyramid at night. Its enormous shape rises against the stars. The stones are pale beneath the moon. The desert is silent. There are no modern lights. No traffic. No voices. Only wind. The pyramid seems to touch the sky. Ancient Egyptians associated the pharaoh with the gods. The king's death was not simply the end of his reign. It was a transformation. The deceased ruler was expected to join the eternal order, to travel among the stars, to become part of the cosmic cycle. The pyramid therefore became a bridge between earth and heaven. You stand before it. You look upward. The stars seem impossibly distant. Yet the pyramid feels like a stone staircase reaching toward them. The night deepens. The desert cools. The world becomes quiet. And for a moment, you can imagine how ancient travelers must have felt when they first saw these monuments. Wonder, silence, a sense of something enormous, something older than memory. Our journey continues toward Thebes. There, beside the Nile, stands the great temple complex of Karnak. Imagine entering its enormous courtyard. Columns rise around you. Some are so large that many people could stand beneath them. Their surfaces are covered with carvings. Kings, gods, sacred animals, hieroglyphs, stories. The temple seems almost like a forest made from stone. Moonlight falls between the columns. The air smells faintly of incense. In the distance, the Nile reflects the stars. Karnak was dedicated to the gods, especially Ammonius-Ra. Ammonius was originally associated with hiddenness and mystery. Later, his identity became closely connected with Ra. Together, they represented Ammonius-Ra, the hidden and the visible, the mysterious and the radiant, the unseen source and the visible sun. Ancient priests came here to perform rituals. They carried sacred images. They burned incense. They recited prayers. They believed that maintaining the proper relationship between humans and gods helped preserve Ma'at. Tonight, however, the temple is empty. The priests have gone. The torches are almost extinguished. Only the moon remains. You walk slowly between the columns. There is no destination, no task. You simply wander. And as you walk, the stone walls seem to whisper, not with voices, but with memory. The Nile was central to Egyptian life. Without it, there could have been no great civilization in the desert. Every year, the river changed. Its waters rose. Fields disappeared beneath the flood. Then the water withdrew. Rich dark soil remained. Farmers planted their crops: wheat, barley, vegetables, flax. The cycle continued. The Egyptians watched the river carefully. Its rhythm determined much of life. Imagine standing on its bank before dawn. The water is nearly black. The stars are reflected upon the surface. A faint mist hangs above the river. Birds move through the reeds. The first light appears in the east. The water changes from black to deep blue, then violet, then silver, then gold. The sun rises, and the Nile becomes a road of light. Boats begin moving. Fishermen cast their nets. Farmers prepare their fields. Children wake. The kingdom begins another day. But tonight we remain in the darkness, because this is a story for sleep. So the sun rises only in imagination. The river continues beneath the moon, and you remain safely aboard the small boat, floating downstream. Beyond the river lies a valley surrounded by mountains, the Valley of the Kings. For centuries, Egyptian rulers were buried here. Their tombs were hidden within the cliffs. Inside were corridors and chambers decorated with images of gods and scenes from the afterlife. Imagine entering one of these ancient tombs. The entrance is quiet. The walls are covered with paintings. Stars cover ceilings. Gods stand beside sacred boats. Fields appear in distant scenes. The dead king travels through the underworld. The tomb is not merely a burial place. It is a map, a guide, a collection of instructions for the journey beyond death. The ancient Egyptians believed that the deceased needed knowledge to navigate the afterlife. There were gates. There were guardians. There were rivers. There were mysterious regions. But there were also beautiful fields. The field of reeds, a peaceful paradise where the deceased could live eternally. Imagine arriving there. The fields stretch toward the horizon. The soil is rich. The grain grows tall. The river flows gently. The sky is bright. There is no hunger, no sickness, no exhaustion, only peace. The ancient Egyptians called this ideal place Aru. And tonight, perhaps you can imagine it as your own quiet resting place. A field beneath warm stars. A gentle river. A soft breeze. Nothing to accomplish. Nothing to prove. Only rest. The ancient Egyptians created collections of spells and prayers to help the dead travel safely through the afterlife. Today these texts are often called the Egyptian Book of the Dead. But the ancient Egyptians had different names for individual collections and traditions. These writings were placed in tombs or written on papyrus. They contained words meant to protect the deceased. Imagine a scribe sitting beside a small lamp. He carefully writes upon papyrus. His reed pen moves slowly. Each symbol must be correct. A single mistake might change a word. He writes names of gods, descriptions of gates, protective formulas, prayers, instructions. The room is silent except for the movement of the pen. Outside, the Nile flows. Inside, knowledge is being preserved. The scribe knows that he is writing for someone who will soon begin a journey no living person can fully describe. Yet the Egyptians believed that the journey could be prepared for. And so they wrote. They recorded. They remembered. The papyrus remains. The names remain. The stories remain. Thousands of years later, we can still hear echoes of those ancient voices. Now the solar boat has entered the deepest regions of the night. Ra continues his journey. The waters of the Duat surround him. 12 hours pass. 12 regions. 12 stages. Each one brings him closer to rebirth. The darkness becomes deeper. But Ra does not stop. The gods aboard the boat remain calm. They know that dawn will eventually come. This is perhaps the most comforting idea within the entire myth. No night lasts forever. The Egyptians knew this because they watched the sun disappear every evening. Yet they also watched it return every morning. The darkness was part of the cycle, not the conclusion. Imagine the boat moving through darkness. You can hear water beneath it. You can hear distant chanting. But there is no urgency. The boat continues. Hour after hour. The serpent Apophis appears. His enormous body coils through the darkness. The gods resist him. Ra continues forward. Eventually the serpent disappears. The boat continues. Another gate opens. Another region passes. The darkness begins to change. A faint glow appears. The eastern horizon is approaching. The journey is almost complete. Before sunrise, the world is at its quietest. Birds are silent. The desert is cool. The Nile is dark. Then something changes. The horizon becomes pale. The first color appears. Gold. The solar boat rises. Ra emerges. The sun returns. The ancient Egyptians saw this every morning. And every morning it was a miracle. The world becomes visible again. Mountains appear. Palm trees become silhouettes. The river shines. The temple walls glow. The desert turns golden. Ra has completed his journey. The cycle begins again. And you can imagine yourself sitting beside the Nile as the first sunlight reaches your face. You breathe in. You breathe out. The day begins. But you do not need to move. You can simply watch. The ancient Egyptians understood something very simple. The universe moves in cycles. Day becomes night. Night becomes day. The river rises. The river falls. Seeds disappear into soil. Plants emerge. Life becomes death. Death becomes new life. Everything moves. Everything changes. And yet, somehow, everything continues. Nut stretches across the heavens. Her body is covered with stars. She is the sky itself. Every evening, she receives the sun. Every morning, she gives birth to it. Imagine lying beneath the open Egyptian sky. There are no city lights, no buildings, no electric signs, only stars, millions of them. The Milky Way stretches above you. Ancient Egyptians watched these stars and created stories around them. They noticed Orion. They watched Sirius. They tracked the movements of planets. They created calendars. They aligned monuments with celestial events. The heavens were part of their religion, part of their agriculture, part of their understanding of time. You look upward. The stars seem closer now. Perhaps some of the same stars you see tonight were visible to Egyptian farmers thousands of years ago. The sky has changed very little. The stars have watched generations rise and disappear. Pharaohs, farmers, builders, children, travelers, priests. Everyone eventually became part of history. But the stars continued shining, and the Nile continued flowing. Imagine an ancient Egyptian city at midnight. The streets are empty. The houses are quiet. A small lamp burns in one window. A cat walks slowly across a courtyard. Palm leaves move gently in the breeze. Far away, a temple rises above the rooftops. The moon illuminates its columns. There is something peaceful about imagining ancient life after everyone has gone to sleep. During the day, markets would have been busy. Boats would have arrived. Farmers would have worked. Merchants would have traveled. Children would have played. But at night, the city becomes still. This quietness is something we share with the ancient world. People thousands of years ago also became tired. They also sought rest. They also watched the stars before sleeping. They also wondered what existed beyond the darkness. Perhaps they listened to the river. Perhaps they heard wind moving through palm trees. Perhaps they dreamed of gods. Perhaps they simply slept. Tonight, you can do the same. Let the ancient city become quieter. The lamps fade. The streets empty. The moon rises higher. The river continues. The journey returns once more to the Hall of Judgment. But this time, there is no fear. Only stillness. Anubis stands beside the golden scales. Thoth waits with his writing tablet. Osiris sits upon his throne. The feather of Ma'at rests gently upon one side of the balance. The heart rests upon the other. The scales are perfectly still. The ancient Egyptians believed that a person's life mattered. Their actions mattered. Their words mattered. Their kindness mattered. Their honesty mattered. But imagine the scales now as something gentler. A reminder to release what you no longer need. Release the worries of the day. Release unfinished thoughts. Release small mistakes. Release tomorrow. You do not need to solve everything tonight. The ancient world has disappeared. The temples are ruins. The kings are gone. The armies are gone. The arguments are forgotten. Yet the river remains. The stars remain. And the stories remain. Perhaps that is the lesson. Not everything needs to last forever. Some things are meant to pass. Some things are meant to be remembered. And some things are simply meant to rest. The boat has returned to the Nile. The journey through the myths is almost finished. You are floating beneath the stars. The water is calm. The desert lies on both sides. A warm breeze moves gently across the river. You can see distant lights. One by one, they disappear. The ancient gods have become quiet. Ra has completed another journey. Osiris waits in his kingdom. Isis rests beneath the stars. Anubis guards the silent gates. Thoth records the movements of heaven. Bastet watches over sleeping homes. And Nut stretches across the sky. Everything is peaceful. The Nile continues. It has carried countless generations. It has watched kingdoms rise. It has watched kingdoms fall. It has carried farmers, merchants, soldiers, priests, children, and kings. And now it carries you. Not toward a destination. Only forward. Slowly. Gently. The water makes a soft sound against the boat. Again. And again. And again. Your breathing follows it. In. And out. In. And out. The stars begin to blur. The moon becomes softer. The sounds become distant. There is nothing left to discover tonight. You have traveled far enough. The ancient temples can wait until another evening. The gods can wait. The stories can wait. The Nile will continue flowing. And you can rest. The final hour of night approaches. The moon moves westward. The stars slowly begin to fade. The desert remains silent. The Nile carries the boat toward the horizon. You think of the ancient stories. Ra crossing the night. Osiris beneath the earth. Isis searching with unwavering devotion. Anubis beside the golden scales. Thoth riding beneath the stars. Bastet resting beside a quiet home. Nut covering the heavens. And Ma'at holding everything together. Truth. Balance. Harmony. Order. Perhaps the most beautiful thing about Egyptian mythology is that it never truly ends. The gods continue their cycles. The sun rises. The sun sets. The river flows. The stars return. The seasons change. And life continues. The ancient Egyptians looked at the world and saw patterns everywhere. They saw death followed by rebirth. Darkness followed by light. Flood followed by harvest. Winter followed by growth. They understood that rest was part of the rhythm. And now, as this story reaches its final moments, you can allow yourself to enter that rhythm. There is no need to listen closely anymore. The words can simply become distant sounds. The story can become a dream. Imagine the Nile beneath you. Imagine the warm night air. Imagine the stars above. The boat moves slowly. There is no destination. There is no schedule. There is nothing you need to remember. The temples are far away. The desert is quiet. The gods are sleeping. The river is carrying you gently. The first light of dawn may eventually appear. But for now, you remain beneath the stars. Safe, quiet, peaceful. The Nile flows. The stars shine. The ancient world dreams. And you can dream with it. Slowly, softly, peacefully. Let your thoughts become lighter. Let your breathing become slower. Let the day disappear. There is nothing more you need to do. Nothing more you need to solve. Nothing more you need to understand. Just rest. The ancient river continues its journey. It has flowed for thousands of years. And tonight, for a little while, you have traveled with it. The stars above you grow softer. The moon fades. The desert becomes still. The horizon waits quietly for the sun. And somewhere beyond that horizon, Ra is preparing to rise once again. But you do not need to follow him. You may remain here, floating gently upon the eternal Nile, listening to the water, listening to your breathing, drifting, resting, dreaming, until the morning comes. Good night. May your dreams be peaceful. May your heart be light. And may the ancient stars watch quietly over your sleep.